Commander Vexthul stared at the datapad with growing frustration. His massive clawed hands gripped the device tighter than necessary, the metal creaking under pressure. The reptilian warrior's yellow eyes scanned the list of available mercenaries for the third time, and the results remained the same. Disappointing. Sir, we need to make a decision soon, said Zaraketh, his second in command. The female Saurian's voice carried a hint of concern. The client wants Dr. Elena Rodriguez extracted within 10 days or the contract is void. Vexthul's forked tongue flicked out, tasting the recycled air of Nexus 7's hiring hall. The massive orbital station served as neutral ground for mercenary companies across the galaxy. Today it felt more like a marketplace for disappointment. The Corvin shock troops are deployed on Rigel 5, he growled, his voice like grinding stone. The Altarian stealth teams want triple payment after their losses on Titan 7. The Centauri Rangers are not answering calls. He threw the datapad onto the metal table with a loud clang. What about these humans? Zaraketh's scaled face showed disgust. Humans? Sir, they are barely worth considering. Weak bones, thin skin, slow reflexes. They die if the air's too hot or too cold. Most can barely lift their own body weight. But they are available, Vexthul said slowly. And they work cheap. Because they die quickly, Zaraketh replied. Sir, this is a fortress world extraction. The hegemony has killed 3 professional teams already. Sending humans would be like sending food to feed their guard dogs. Vexthul stood up, his 7-foot frame casting a long shadow. His battle-scarred armor clinked softly as he moved. 20 years of mercenary work had taught him that sometimes the best tool was not the sharpest, but the one that was actually available. Show me their files, he commanded. Zaraketh sighed and pulled up 3 human profiles on the wall screen. The first showed a man with brown hair and calm blue eyes. Jake Morrison, age 32, claims experience in demolitions and engineering. Previous work includes construction and mining operations on human colonies. Construction work, Vexthul snorted. What about combat experience? None listed in any military database. Clean record, no arrests, no violence charges. Zaraketh moved to the next profile. Lisa Park, age 29. Background in languages and cultural studies. Has worked as a translator and guide for human businesses. A translator, Vexthul said flatly, for an assault mission. The last one is Ryan Torres, age 35. Medical training, worked in civilian hospitals and emergency response teams. Zaraketh turned off the screen. Sir, these are not soldiers. They are ordinary humans with ordinary jobs. Vexthul walked to the viewing port and stared out at the ships docked at Nexus 7. A dozen different species moved through the station's corridors, all of them stronger, faster, or more specialized than humans. The Corvin berserkers could tear through steel with their bare hands. The Altarians could become nearly invisible. The Centauris could survive in hard vacuum for hours. Humans could do none of these things. They were famous across the galaxy for being average at everything and excellent at nothing. Most species considered them lucky to have developed space travel before they killed themselves off. The mission parameters, Vexthul said finally. Remind me. Extraction of Dr. Elena Rodriguez from the Hegemony Fortress on Kepler 442b. She is being held in the maximum security wing while they study her research on alien neural networks. Intelligence suggests heavy automated defenses, energy shields, and a full battalion of hegemony guards. And our usual approach? Corvin berserkers create chaos while Altarian stealth specialists infiltrate and extract the target. Standard smash and grab operation. Vexthul nodded slowly. The plan was simple and had worked dozens of times before. But without Corvins and Altarians, they needed something else. Something disposable. Bring the humans in for interview, he ordered. An hour later, the 3 humans sat across from Vexthul in the conference room. They looked exactly as ordinary as their files suggested. Jake Morrison wore simple clothes and had calloused hands that spoke of manual labor. Lisa Park sat quietly, her dark eyes taking in everything but revealing nothing. Ryan Torres had the tired look of someone who had seen too much suffering but kept working anyway. You understand this is a combat mission, Vexthul began, his voice deliberately intimidating. High risk, minimal backup, possibly no extraction if things go wrong. We understand, Jake said simply. His voice was steady, showing no fear. The pay is standard mercenary rates for humans, Zaraketh added with obvious contempt. Half what we pay real soldiers, assuming you survive to collect it. Lisa Park tilted her head slightly. What kind of defenses are we expecting? Vexthul was surprised by the question. Most mercenaries asked about payment first, defenses later. Energy shields, automated gun systems, patrol routes, guard posts. Standard fortress layout. Guard species? Ryan Torres asked quietly. Mixed hegemony forces. Mostly human collaborators with hegemony overseers. Vexthul studied the three faces in front of him. They showed no excitement, no fear, no typical pre-mission emotions. They looked like they were discussing the weather. Our role in the operation? Jake asked. Distraction, Vexthul said bluntly. You create noise and chaos while the primary team handles the actual extraction. Draw fire, cause confusion, make the guards look the wrong direction. So we are bait, Lisa said. It was not a question. Effective bait, Zaraketh said with a cruel smile. Humans are very good at dying loudly. The three humans exchanged a quick look. Some kind of silent communication passed between them. Too fast for Vexthul to interpret. Then Jake nodded. We accept the contract. Vexthul felt both relief and doubt. Relief because he now had a team, even if it was made of fragile humans. Doubt because he was sending three ordinary people to die on a fortress world. We depart in 6 hours, he said. Use the time to prepare. The ship's armory has basic human-compatible weapons and equipment. As the humans left the conference room, Zaraketh shook her head. Sir, we just signed their death warrants. Perhaps, Vexthul replied, watching the three figures disappear down the corridor. But they accepted the terms without complaint. Either they are very stupid, or they know something we do not. They are humans, Zaraketh said dismissively. How much could they possibly know? Vexthul did not answer, but something about the calm way the humans had accepted their suicide mission bothered him. In his experience, beings who walked willingly toward death usually had good reasons to believe they would survive. He made a mental note to watch the humans carefully during the mission. If nothing else, their deaths might provide useful intelligence about the fortress defenses. He had no idea that he was about to learn something entirely different about the species the galaxy called just humans. The journey to Kepler 442b would take 3 days aboard the assault ship Void Reaper. Vexthul had expected the humans to spend that time being nervous, asking questions or making final preparations for what everyone assumed would be their deaths. Instead, they did something much more unsettling. They worked. On the first day, Jake Morrison asked permission to inspect the ship's weapons and equipment storage. Vexthul granted it, figuring the human would need time to understand alien technology he had never seen before. 6 hours later, Jake had not only figured out how everything worked, but had begun improving it. Commander, Zaraketh called over the ship's communication system. You need to see what the human is doing in Storage Bay 3. Vexthul found Jake surrounded by components from a dozen different devices. The human had somehow taken apart 3 Saurian demolition charges and was rebuilding them with parts from the ship's emergency repair kit. What are you doing? Vexthul demanded. Jake looked up from his work, a small device in his hands. The charges you have are designed for Saurian physiology. Heavy, simple, lots of flash and noise. But the explosive compound is inefficient for the casing design. These are military-grade Saurian explosives, Vexthul growled. They have been tested in hundreds of battles. I'm sure they work fine, Jake said politely. But I can make them work better. See, if you change the detonation pattern and add a focusing lens made from hull plating, you get 3 times the directed force with half the explosive material. Jake activated a small holographic display, showing blast patterns and mathematical calculations. Vexthul stared at the data. The human was right. The modified design would be significantly more effective. Where did you learn this? Vexthul asked slowly. Chemistry was always interesting to me, Jake replied, returning to his work. Growing up in Detroit, you learn to make the most of whatever materials you can find. Plus, construction work teaches you a lot about how buildings come apart. Vexthul left the storage bay feeling confused. The human had just improved military weapons using techniques he learned in civilian jobs. That should not be possible. Meanwhile, Lisa Park was having conversations with every alien crew member she could find. By the second day, she was speaking basic phrases in 3 different alien languages and seemed to understand the complex social dynamics between species that normally took years of study to learn. The Corvin greeting involves showing teeth as a sign of non-aggression, she explained, to Ryan Torres while they ate in the mess hall. But for Saurians, showing teeth is a threat display. So when talking to mixed groups, you keep your mouth closed and bow slightly instead. How do you know that? Asked Thekmol, a young Corvin engineer who had been watching the conversation. Body language patterns, Lisa said simply. Humans learn to read facial expressions and posture very carefully. It helps us understand what people are really thinking. Your species just use slightly different signals than ours. Thekmal's fur bristled with surprise. You learned our social signals in 2 days? Basic ones, Lisa said modestly. I am still working on the subtle differences between formal and informal communication levels. Thekmal looked at Ryan Torres. Is she some kind of human expert in alien cultures? No, Ryan said, checking something on his medical scanner. Lisa worked as a translator for human businesses, though she did study psychology before that. Psychology? Understanding how minds work, Lisa explained. Human minds mostly, but the basic principles are similar across most sapient species. Fear, anger, happiness, curiosity. The expressions are different, but the underlying emotions are usually recognizable. Thekmal left the mess hall looking disturbed. Later, he reported to Vexithul that the female human seemed able to read alien emotions better than some aliens could read their own species. But it was Ryan Torres who worried the crew the most. The human medic had quietly offered to help with various health problems that the alien crew members thought they were hiding successfully. By the 3rd day, he had treated a Corvin stomach infection, a Saurian vitamin deficiency, and an Altarian sleep disorder. How did you know I was sick? Asked Veltar, the Altarian navigator, after Ryan had given him medication that worked better than anything in the ship's medical bay. Your balance was slightly off during the last 2 duty shifts, Ryan explained. Plus, your skin color was wrong for your species, and you kept rubbing your temples. Classic signs of disrupted sleep cycles causing inner ear problems. But I am Altarian. You are human. Our physiologies are completely different. Ryan shrugged. Pain is pain. Illness is illness. The details change, but the patterns are usually similar. I have treated humans, and I have read about other species. The principles apply. You read about alien medicine? I read about everything, Ryan said simply. Medical emergencies do not wait for you to have the right training. Sometimes you have to figure things out as you go. That evening, Vexthul called a meeting with his senior crew members. The ship's conference room felt smaller with so many aliens crowded around the table. Report on the humans, Vexthul ordered. Sir, said Weapons Officer Graktul, a massive Corvin with battle scars covering his arms. The human Jake Morrison has modified our explosives. I tested his designs in the simulation chamber. They are 40% more effective than standard charges. The female human speaks our languages better than some of our own crew, added Navigator Veltar. She understands alien social protocols that take most species years to learn. And the male human medic treated my digestive infection in 1 day, Thekmal said quietly. The infection I have had for 3 months. He used medicines I have never heard of, made from plants that grow on human worlds. Vexthul listened to the reports with growing unease. These were not the actions of ordinary civilians. But their background checks had been thorough. No military service, no combat training, no special education in alien studies or advanced sciences. There is something else, Zaraketh said. I have been monitoring their stress levels during combat simulations. Humans are supposed to show fear responses like increased heart rate, sweating, and nervous behavior when facing danger. And they do not. Their vital signs remain steady during simulations that would terrify most species. They act like they have seen real combat before, but there are no records of any military service. Vexthul was quiet for a long moment. Something was wrong with the intelligence reports on these humans, or something was wrong with the humans themselves. Maybe they are just very brave, suggested Veltar. No, Graktul growled. Brave beings show fear and overcome it. These humans show no fear at all. That is not bravery. That is experience. Experience with what? Zaraketh asked. With situations where fear gets you killed, Ryan Torres said from the doorway. The aliens spun around, surprised. The human medic stood in the entrance to the conference room holding a medical kit. Apologies for interrupting, Ryan said politely. Commander Vexthul, you missed your scheduled medical check. Ship regulations require all crew members to have current health assessments. Vexthul stared at the human. Ryan Torres had just walked up to a room full of heavily armed alien warriors, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. No hesitation, no fear, no recognition that he was surrounded by beings who could kill him without effort. You were listening to our conversation, Vexthul said. I was waiting outside for the meeting to end, Ryan replied calmly. I could not help but hear some of it. If you have questions about our qualifications, you should ask us directly. Very well. Vexthal stood up, towering over the human. What experience do you have with situations where fear gets you killed? Ryan set down his medical kit and looked around the room at the assembled aliens. His expression was completely calm. Commander, have you ever worked in an emergency room in downtown Detroit during a gang war while drug-resistant diseases are spreading and the power grid is failing? Vexthal blinked. No. Then you have never worked in a place where any mistake kills people and every decision has to be right the first time, Ryan said simply. Fear is a luxury you learn to put aside when lives depend on you thinking clearly. The room was silent. Finally, Graktul spoke. Human, how many people have you seen die? Ryan considered the question seriously. I stopped counting after the first 1,000. More silence. We should reach Kepler 442b in 18 hours, Ryan said, picking up his medical kit. I suggest everyone get some sleep. Tomorrow will be a long day. As the human left the conference room, Vexthal realized that his assumptions about humans might need serious revision. The fortress city of New Carthage rose from the red surface of Kepler 442b like a metal mountain. Massive energy shields shimmered around its walls, and automated defense towers tracked everything that moved within 50 kilometers. The hegemony had built this place to be unconquerable. Vexthal studied the fortress through the Void Reaper's sensors while his team prepared for assault. The intelligence reports had been wrong about many things. The defenses were more advanced, the garrison was larger, and the energy shields were adapting to their scanning attempts in real time. Sir? Zaraketh reported from the sensor station. The shields are not static. They are changing frequency and density patterns every few minutes. Our weapons will be much less effective than predicted. Automated defenses are also more sophisticated, added Graktul. These are not simple gun turrets. They appear to have predictive targeting systems and adaptive ammunition selection. Vexthal growled in frustration. This was exactly the kind of mission that had killed 3 previous mercenary teams. Advanced defenses, unknown variables, and a target hidden deep inside a fortress designed to stop professional military forces. Launch the assault shuttles, he ordered. Standard attack pattern. Draw their fire while we identify weak points. The first wave went exactly as badly as Vexthal had feared. The Corvin berserkers charged the main gate, roaring their battle cries and firing their heavy weapons. The fortress defenses responded by analyzing the sound frequencies of Corvin voices and deploying sonic weapons tuned specifically to disrupt their hearing and balance. Within minutes, the berserkers were helpless, stumbling around with damaged inner ears. The Altarian stealth specialist tried to infiltrate through the fortress's ventilation systems. The quantum sensors detected them immediately, tracking their movement through walls and alerting guards to their exact positions. 3 Altarians were captured before they even reached the outer buildings, Vex's. Thol's own assault on the eastern wall failed when the energy shields adapted to Saurian weapon frequencies and began reflecting their plasma bolts back at them. His armor could handle the reflected energy, but barely. Sir, Graktul called over the communications system, his voice tight with pain. We are taking heavy casualties. The defenses are too advanced. We cannot penetrate their systems. Fall back to the shuttles, Vexthal ordered. Regroup and, Commander, Jake Morrison's voice cut through the chaos. Request permission to try something different. Vexthal found himself crouched behind a boulder, his armor scorched from reflected plasma fire. Around him, the best mercenaries in the galaxy were being systematically destroyed by a fortress that seemed to predict their every move. What do you have in mind, human? The distraction explosives I prepared, Jake said calmly. They are not just noisemakers. I have been watching the shield patterns for the last 20 minutes. I think I can create a cascade failure. Explain. The shields adapt to incoming threats, but they have to maintain structural integrity across the entire perimeter. If you hit them at 3 specific points simultaneously, with precisely calculated forces, the adaptive algorithms cannot compensate fast enough. The whole grid will collapse for about 40 seconds. Vexthal stared across the battlefield at the massive energy dome protecting the fortress. The idea that a human construction worker could solve a problem that had defeated military engineers was absurd. How do you know this will work? I do not, Jake admitted. But the mathematics are solid. I have done similar calculations for controlled building demolitions. The principles are the same. Before Vexthul could respond, Lisa Park's voice joined the conversation. I can get us inside during the shield collapse. I have been monitoring their communications for the last hour. I know their patrol routes and guard rotations. You can understand hegemony military communications? Zaraketh asked in disbelief. Basic tactical language is pretty standard across most military organizations, Lisa replied. Plus, they are using human collaborators for communications, so some of it is in human languages I already know. And once we are inside? Vexthul asked. I can handle the guards, Ryan Torres said quietly. Non-lethally, if possible. But I will need about 10 minutes to prepare. Vexthul looked around at his scattered, defeated forces. His professional mercenaries had been neutralized in less than an hour. The fortress defenses were too advanced, too adaptive, too intelligent for conventional assault tactics. The humans were offering him a plan based on construction work, language skills, and medical knowledge. It was completely insane. Do it, he ordered. Jake Morrison moved across the battlefield like he was walking to work. Plasma bolts and energy beams filled the air around him, but he seemed to know exactly where each shot would go. He placed his modified explosive charges with mathematical precision, checking calculations on a small device he had built from spare parts. Charges set, he reported. Detonation in 30 seconds. All units prepare for shield collapse. Lisa Park was already moving toward the fortress walls, somehow avoiding every automated sensor and guard patrol. She moved like she could see the invisible patterns of security coverage. I am at the ventilation intake, she whispered. Ryan, are you ready? Ready, Ryan replied. Vexthul could see the human medic approaching a different part of the fortress, carrying what looked like a standard medical kit. Detonation in 3, 2, 1. Jake's explosives went off simultaneously at 3 points around the fortress perimeter. The energy shields flickered, wavered, and collapsed completely. Alarm sirens began wailing inside the fortress. 40 seconds, Jake announced. Move. Vexthul had never seen anything like what happened next. Lisa Park disappeared into the fortress through an air vent that should have been too small for a human. Ryan Torres somehow got past the main gate guards, who were now stumbling around looking confused and sick. Jake Morrison was already inside the outer wall, having climbed over it using equipment he had apparently built during the fight. How are they doing this? Grachtel asked over the comm system. I do not know, Vexthul replied, watching his remaining forces follow the humans into the fortress. But it is working. Inside the fortress, the humans moved like they had built the place themselves. Lisa Park guided the team through corridors and past guard posts with perfect timing. Every time they encountered resistance, Ryan Torres would appear with his medical kit, and the guards would suddenly develop breathing problems or stomach cramps that left them unable to fight. What is he doing to them? Zaraketh asked, watching Ryan work. Chemical agents, Jake explained while setting up more explosive charges. Non-lethal but very effective. Ryan knows alien physiology well enough to target specific biological systems. That should be impossible, Vexthul said. Humans have never studied hegemony alien biology. Humans study everything, Lisa said, leading them toward the detention center. We have to. Our planet does not give us specialized advantages, so we learn to understand whatever we encounter. They reached the detention center without losing a single team member. The fortress guards were either unconscious, sick, or trapped behind blast doors that Jake had somehow programmed to lock from the outside. Dr. Rodriguez is in cell block 7, Lisa reported. 3 guards, but they are already feeling the effects of the atmospheric adjustments Ryan made to the life support system. They found Dr. Elena Rodriguez exactly where Lisa said she would be. The human scientist looked surprised but not shocked to see a rescue team. I was wondering when someone would show up, she said calmly, stepping out of her cell. The hegemony interrogation techniques are quite primitive. I was getting bored. Vexthul stared at the rescued scientist. Like the other humans, she showed no fear, no panic, no relief. She looked like being imprisoned by hostile aliens was a minor inconvenience. Can you walk? Ryan asked, checking her for injuries. Of course, Dr. Rodriguez replied, though I should mention that my research data is stored in the main computer core. If you want to prevent the hegemony from continuing their experiments, you might want to do something about that. Jake looked up from the explosive charges he was setting around the detention center. How much data? Everything I learned about alien neural networks over the past 5 years, Dr. Rodriguez said, including information they definitely should not have. Computer core is in the central tower, Lisa said, checking a map she had somehow acquired. Heavily guarded. Not anymore, Ryan said, tapping his medical kit. I may have introduced some unpleasant microorganisms into their air recycling system. Nothing fatal, but they will be too sick to fight for the next few hours. Vexthul listened to this conversation in growing amazement. The humans were not just rescuing their target. They were systematically destroying the entire fortress operation while making it look easy. Time to go, Jake announced. My explosives will bring down the detention center in 15 minutes. That should give us enough time to reach the computer core and get back to the shuttles. As they moved through the fortress corridors, Vexthul realized that everything he thought he knew about humans had been completely wrong. These were not ordinary civilians. They were something much more dangerous. The computer core of the Hegemony Fortress was a massive chamber filled with quantum processors and data storage crystals. Jake Morrison moved through the alien technology like he had designed it himself, connecting devices and downloading information while explosions echoed through the fortress around them. How do you understand their systems? Vexthul demanded, watching the human work with equipment that should have taken years of study to comprehend. Jake looked up from a control panel he had somehow reprogrammed. Computers are computers. The interfaces change, but the basic logic structures are usually similar. Plus, human technology shares common roots with most galactic standard systems. That is impossible, Zaraketh protested. Humans developed independently. Your technology should be completely different from ours. Should be, Jake agreed, transferring data to a portable storage device. But it is not. Human engineers have been studying alien technology for decades. We reverse engineer everything we can get our hands on. It is a survival habit. Dr. Rodriguez nodded while Lisa Park stood guard at the chamber entrance. The human government has been very interested in understanding alien systems ever since we made first contact. Not for conquest, but for protection. We needed to know how advanced civilizations build things. Vexthul felt something cold growing in his stomach. Protection from what? From species that might decide humans are not worth keeping around, Dr. Rodriguez said simply. Earth has always been considered a marginal world by galactic standards. We assumed that eventually someone might try to take it from us. So you prepared, Vexthul said slowly. We prepared, Jake confirmed, finishing his work on the computer systems. Every human colony, every research station, every diplomatic mission includes people whose real job is to study alien technology and capabilities. We learn how everything works. Lisa Park's voice came from the entrance. Guards approaching. 3 minutes until they reach this level. Time to go, Ryan said, checking his medical kit. Though I should mention that the computer core will be completely destroyed in about 10 minutes. I may have introduced some corrosive bacteria into their cooling systems. Vexthul stared at the human medic. You did what? Biological warfare agents designed to destroy computer systems, Ryan explained calmly. Non-toxic to organic life, but very effective against metal and silicon-based electronics. It is a standard Earth Defense Force technique. Earth Defense Force? Dr. Rodriguez looked surprised. You did not know. All 3 of them are veterans. Jake was a combat engineer in the Martian colonial conflicts. Lisa served in diplomatic intelligence during the Tau Ceti incident. Ryan was a field medic in the asteroid belt campaigns. The chamber seemed to spin around Vexthul, but their records showed no military service. Because they were never officially military, Lisa said, leading them toward an exit route she had somehow scouted while they were working. Earth does not maintain large standing armies. Instead, we train civilians in military skills and deploy them as needed. Everyone does their regular job until there is a crisis. Everyone? Zaraketh asked. Everyone, Jake confirmed, setting explosive charges on the computer core. Construction workers learn demolitions and fortification. Translators learn intelligence gathering and infiltration. Medical personnel learn combat medicine and biological warfare. Teachers learn psychological operations. Farmers learn logistics and resource management. They moved through the fortress corridors while Jake's explosives began destroying the facility around them. Guards tried to stop them, but Ryan's biological agents had left most of the garrison too sick to fight effectively. This is why humans are considered average at everything, Dr. Rodriguez continued as they avoided falling debris. We do not specialize because we cannot afford to. Earth's history taught us that survival requires knowing how to do everything. What kind of history? Vex Thul asked, though he was beginning to suspect he did not want to know the answer. Constant warfare, Lisa said matter-of-factly. Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. Different nations, different religions, different ideologies. We have used every possible weapon and tactic against our own species. We know biological warfare because we used it on each other, Ryan added. We know chemical weapons, nuclear weapons, cyber warfare, psychological manipulation, economic sabotage, and every other form of conflict because we have tried them all. We know how to destroy cities because we have destroyed our own cities, Jake said, leading them toward the fortress exit. We know how to infiltrate secure facilities because we have spent centuries breaking into each other's secure facilities. Vex Thul felt his understanding of humans shifting completely. You are not a peaceful species. We are not a warlike species either, Dr. Rodriguez corrected. We are a survivor species. We fight when we have to, cooperate when it benefits us, and learn from every experience. Earth taught us that the universe is dangerous and that knowledge is the only real advantage. They reached the outer walls of the fortress as the main structure began collapsing behind them. Jake's explosives had triggered a cascade failure that was bringing down most of the complex. In the distance, Vex Thul could see the Void Reaper waiting for extraction. Dr. Rodriguez, he said as they walked toward the shuttle landing zone. What exactly were you researching that the hegemony wanted so badly? Neural interface technology, she replied. The hegemony thought they could use my work to control alien minds. They did not realize that I was actually studying how to prevent mental manipulation. For defense? For defense, she confirmed. Earth's intelligence services wanted to understand how advanced species might try to influence human thinking. My research was part of a larger project to develop countermeasures against psychological warfare. How many such projects does Earth maintain? Zoraketh asked. Hundreds, Lisa answered. Every aspect of alien technology and culture is being studied by someone. We have people learning alien languages, alien psychology, alien biology, alien engineering, alien military tactics. We prepare for every possible scenario. Jake checked his watch as they climbed aboard the shuttle. The fortress will be completely destroyed in about 20 minutes. The computer core is already gone, along with all their research data. What about the guards and staff? Vex Thul asked. They will survive, Ryan said, stowing his medical kit. My biological agents are unpleasant but not fatal. They will be sick for a few days, then recover completely. We do not kill unless we have to. But you could have, Vex Thul realized. We could have, Ryan agreed. Earth has developed some very effective lethal agents. But causing unnecessary death creates enemies. We prefer to leave people alive but discouraged from bothering us again. As the shuttle lifted off from the fortress ruins, Vex Thul looked out at the human team. They sat quietly, checking their equipment and discussing the mission in calm, professional voices. They showed no excitement about their success, no relief about their survival, no pride about their accomplishments. Why do you do civilian jobs? He asked finally. With your skills, you could be professional soldiers anywhere in the galaxy. Jake shrugged. Because Earth needs people who understand construction and engineering. The military skills are just backup training in case something goes wrong. We all have regular lives, Lisa added. Families, homes, hobbies. Military service is just something we do when needed. Most of the time, there is no need. But you stay ready, Vex Thul said. We stay ready, Dr. Rodriguez confirmed. Earth learned long ago that peace is maintained by being prepared for war. We train everyone, we study everything, and we hope we never need to use what we know. And if someone threatens Earth? The three humans exchanged a look. For the first time since Vex Thul had met them, their calm expressions showed something else. Something cold and determined. Then they discover why the galaxy should not underestimate humans, Jake said quietly. Vex Thul thought about the fortress they had just destroyed. 3 ordinary humans with civilian jobs had accomplished what professional military forces had failed to do. They had done it easily, efficiently, and without losing a single team member. If these were just average humans with basic training, what would actual human military specialists be capable of? He decided he did not want to find out. The journey back to Nexus 7 was very different from the trip to Kepler 442b. The alien crew members of the Void Reaper no longer made jokes about humans being weak or disposable. Instead, they watched Jake Morrison, Lisa Park, and Ryan Torres with a mixture of respect and nervous uncertainty. Vexthal found himself studying the mission reports while the humans went about their business as if destroying a hegemony. Fortress was routine work. The numbers were impressive. 0 casualties among the rescue team. Complete mission success, target extracted safely. An enemy facility destroyed beyond repair. It was the kind of result that professional mercenary companies would use in advertising for years. Sir, Zaraketh approached his command chair. We are receiving communication requests from 12 different mercenary companies, 6 government agencies and 3 private military contractors. About what? About hiring our team for future operations. Word has spread through the mercenary networks about the Kepler 442b mission. Everyone wants to know how we succeeded where other teams failed. Vexthal looked across the ship's common area, where Dr. Elena Rodriguez was talking quietly with the 3 humans who had rescued her. They looked like ordinary people having an ordinary conversation. Nothing about them suggested they had just accomplished an impossible military operation. What are they discussing? He asked. Zaraketh activated the ship's internal audio sensors. The conversation was surprisingly mundane. The weather patterns on Kepler 442b are actually quite interesting, Dr. Rodriguez was saying. The atmospheric composition creates some unique cloud formations that I had never seen before. I noticed that too, Lisa replied. The way the light refracted through the upper atmosphere reminded me of sunset conditions on Mars. Very beautiful, despite the circumstances. Mars has similar atmospheric pressure, Jake added. I worked on a construction project there about 5 years ago. Interesting engineering challenges when you have to account for low air density and dust storms. Speaking of dust, Ryan said, checking something in his medical kit. I should mention that everyone who entered the fortress should have their respiratory systems checked when we get back to the station. Hegemony facilities use some unusual air filtration chemicals that can cause lung irritation in humans. Vexthal turned off the audio feed. They were discussing the weather and respiratory health. After destroying a military fortress and extracting a high-value target from maximum security detention, they were talking about dust particles and cloud formations. Sir, Graktul approached from the weapons station. I have completed analysis of the human explosive techniques. The modifications Jake Morrison made to our demolition charges represent a 37% improvement in efficiency. His mathematical calculations were more precise than our military-grade targeting computers. How is that possible? Unknown, sir. He claims he learned the techniques doing construction work on human colonies, but the mathematics involved require understanding of physics, chemistry, structural engineering, and materials science at an advanced level. Dekmol joined the conversation. Sir, Lisa Park has been helping our communications officer improve translation protocols for first contact situations. She has identified 17 errors in our standard diplomatic language databases and suggested corrections that would prevent serious misunderstandings, and Ryan Torres has provided medical treatments for crew members that our own ship's doctor could not diagnose, added Veltar. He appears to understand alien physiology better than most trained xenobiologists. Vexthal listened to the reports with growing amazement. The humans were not just competent soldiers. They were experts in fields that should have taken decades to master. Commander, Dr. Rodriguez approached his command chair. I wanted to thank you for the successful extraction. Your team performed exceptionally well. The humans performed well, Vexthal corrected. My regular forces were neutralized by the fortress defenses. Yes, I noticed that, Dr. Rodriguez said. Though I should point out that Jake, Lisa, and Ryan are not typical examples of human capabilities. They are quite skilled even by Earth standards. In what way? Dr. Rodriguez sat down across from Vexthal. Jake Morrison is not just a construction worker. He designed and built some of the most complex structures in the human colonies. His engineering projects include space elevators, underwater cities, and atmospheric processing stations. The demolition work he mentioned was clearing damaged buildings after the Martian colonial wars. And Lisa Park, former diplomatic intelligence operative with the Earth Foreign Service. She has been in more first contact situations than most ambassadors. Her language and cultural expertise comes from years of studying alien civilizations for the human government. Ryan Torres, emergency medicine specialist who served in every major human conflict for the past 15 years. He has treated injuries from weapons that most species have never heard of, and diseases that exist only in war zones. His medical knowledge includes things that civilian doctors never need to learn. Vexthul felt his understanding shift again. They are not ordinary civilians. No, Dr. Rodriguez agreed. They are not. Though by human standards, they are not particularly unusual either. Earth produces many people with similar skill sets. How many? Dr. Rodriguez considered the question carefully. Earth has a population of about 12 billion humans. Of those, approximately 8 billion have received some form of military or emergency response training. About 2 billion have advanced technical skills that could be applied to combat situations. Perhaps 50 million have the kind of specialized expertise that Jake, Lisa, and Ryan demonstrated. 50 million humans with their capabilities? At minimum, Dr. Rodriguez said. Though most of them prefer civilian careers and only use their military training if absolutely necessary. Vexthul stared at her. What kind of world produces 50 million people with advanced military capabilities? A world where 50 million people with advanced military capabilities are needed for survival. Dr. Rodriguez replied simply. Earth is not a safe place, Commander. Our environment kills millions of people every year through natural disasters, disease outbreaks, resource conflicts, and technological accidents. We learn advanced skills because we need them to stay alive. And when someone threatens humanity, Dr. Rodriguez smiled, and for the first time, Vexthul saw something dangerous in her expression. Then they discover that a species which needs 50 million expert soldiers just to maintain basic civilization can deploy considerably more when actually threatened. Over the ship's communication system, an urgent message began playing. Attention Crimson Talon Mercenary Company. This is Nexus 7 Traffic Control. You have 17 priority communication requests waiting. Please respond immediately upon docking. More job offers? Zaraketh asked. More than job offers, Vexthul realized. Word has spread about what humans can accomplish. Every military organization in the galaxy will want to hire them. He looked back at the common area, where the three humans were now playing some kind of card game with Dr. Rodriguez. They laughed at something Lisa said, looking completely relaxed and ordinary. Dr. Rodriguez, Vexthul called out. The humans will receive many employment offers when we reach Nexus 7. Are they interested in permanent mercenary work? Jake looked up from his cards. Thank you for the consideration, Commander. But we need to return to Earth soon. We are actually on vacation from our regular jobs. Vacation? Personal leave time, Lisa explained. We all work for different Earth government agencies. This mercenary assignment was just something to do while we had time off. We should report back for duty in about 2 weeks, Ryan added. Though this was an interesting break from routine, Vexthul felt something that might have been panic. What are your regular duties? I am currently assigned to the Colonial Engineering Corps, Jake said. We are building defensive installations for the outer colonies. Intelligence analysis for the diplomatic service, Lisa said. Mostly studying alien political structures and communication patterns. Medical research for the Defense Health Agency, Ryan said. We are developing treatments for biological weapons that might be used against human populations. Dr. Rodriguez saw Vexthul's expression and smiled again. I should mention that all 4 of us are reserve personnel, not active duty. Earth's actual military specialists are considerably more capable. More capable? The people you just worked with are trained civilians with part-time military skills, Dr. Rodriguez explained. Earth's professional soldiers are trained for warfare as their primary occupation. They tend to be more effective in combat situations. Vexthul thought about Jake Morrison casually destroying a fortress with improvised explosives, Lisa Park infiltrating maximum security facilities like she was walking through a park, and Ryan Torres neutralizing guards with biological agents he carried in a medical kit. If these were just talented civilians, what would actual human military specialists be capable of? Commander, Zaraketh announced, we are approaching Nexus 7, docking in 30 minutes. As the Void Reaper prepared to dock, Vexthul made several decisions. First, he would accept every high-paying contract that requested his team, especially if clients specifically asked for the humans. Second, he